one of the tweets he put out, and I want you to respond to it directly if you would. He questioned whether Linette at Business Insider was serving as an inside trading source for one of Tesla's biggest short sellers, presumably you. You went on Twitter through a third party and denied those allegations. But I want to hear it directly from you, not through a third party.
Yeah.
Is anything that Musk says about your activities true?
No, not one bit. We talk to journalists all the time. We have never received inside information from any journalist at any time, including Tesla. And we've never paid any journalists at any time, including over Tesla, for any access, any information, or in the form of bribes. Nothing, no time, nothing, no money.
What do you make of all of this?
You have to ask
where
him.
This has gone.
You have to ask him. He's making the charge. These are serious charges. He made a serious charge about someone over the weekend involved in the Thai rescue, right? When you make serious charges, you want to bring serious evidence, right? Where's the evidence?
Have you read the open letter from Gene Munster, the analyst turned venture capitalist?
I heard parts of it, though.
Okay. Munster writes, and I'm going to quote a few passages from it, and I want your reaction to it. He writes to Elon Musk, quote, "Your behavior is fueling an unhelpful perception of your leadership, thin-skinned and short-tempered." What do you think about an analyst turned venture capitalist writing an open letter to Elon Musk? He said his best advice to Mr. Musk is to ignore the short sellers. "During my time as an analyst, I have observed that when companies aggressively engage with short sellers, they lose. The best way to beat them is not with words, but actions that drive the stock higher." Just give me your general reaction to where all of this is
Well, I would
today.
agree with that last statement.
Well,
I mean, generally the results will always will out, right? Either the shorts or the longs are going to be right about something, and the stock will reflect that over time. Look, we're in an odd, I don't want to make this political, but we're in an odd time, some call it the post-truth environment. And that if you keep amplifying things, some certain part of people will believe it. And you know what I'm alluding to. And so I think it works the same in CEO. I would urge people to read John Carreyrou's book, Bad Blood, about Silicon Valley, because it's not just about Theranos. One of the points he makes about Silicon Valley today is there is an unhealthy amount of leadership out there that believes that as long as you think you're changing the world or have convinced yourself that you're changing the world, it's okay to lie to people.
Do you think people that are leveling the types of charges that you're talking about, do you think that when people do it on Twitter, they feel like it's no big deal, I'm just tweeting? Do you think there's some element, like in other words, if somebody would have made an accusation like the ones that Scott described in an earlier era,
right,
like what format would that have taken? Like an on-the-record interview with a journalist, or maybe written an op-ed? Now it's like, just grab your phone, say whatever you feel like about somebody. Like, do you think that that's part of it, the casualness of the interface with the world that we all have?
Well, you're speaking to someone who was sued by a famously thin-skinned CEO when I spoke at a journalism conference and quoted some things from said CEO's 10K. Right. And I was sued for libel and won those cases. So, it all depends on the individual, right? But I do think that we're in this strange period that if I say it and enough people believe it, right, that's good enough for me. My ignorance is on par with your knowledge. So, and that's a scary place to be.
Can I have one thing on Tesla? Yeah. So if you had looked at, forget it's Tesla.
Yeah.
Forget the name Elon Musk. If you looked at the CEO and you saw what you can only describe as irrational behavior,
right,
you got to believe that just doesn't stop with the tweeting.
Right.
That it extends to how a company's managed.
Well, let me give you a great example about that. In mid-June, Elon Musk and Rahm Emanuel got up before a big group of people in the press in the city of Chicago, and they said that the Boring Company, Elon Musk's Boring Company, would be building a tunnel 18 miles from the Loop to O'Hare through residential neighborhoods, and Musk claimed that they would do it in under 3 years. They'd begin this fall. It would cost only $1 billion, and the Boring Company would pick up all the cost. Now, I think each one of those statements is probably not true. And yet, it got a lot of press, It got, he's going to build a subway from the Second Avenue subway extension in New York City cost about $2 billion a mile.
Took 15 years.
And took more, 20 years, right?
Not done.
Yeah, and he's just going to simply burrow through 18 miles of Chicago residential area for something that's not even needed. There's already a loop to O'Hare train that is 80% empty every day. And yet people bought it, unquestionably.
You took the words right out of my mouth, and yet, yes, the stock has had a bit of a pullback, but it remains at these elevated levels.
Yeah.
The level of conviction you must have to stick with this. What is that? I mean,
well, again, I've said it before. I mean, this stock, the bad time to be short this stock was 13, 14, and we were short toward the tail end of that. It ran from 30 to 300, and so since 2014, this stock has gone basically flat. I mean, with a lot of volatility. So if you compare that to the NASDAQ since 2014, you've been underperforming pretty dramatically. So this company has been about selling the sizzle. Now that the steak is here, the steak is sort of raw and uncooked, and the reality is a little bit tougher. And I think that's the problem. We've gone from being a concept to having to engineer automobiles. And that's where they're finding it a little bit more difficult.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.